Okay, good morning, guys. We're going to move fast because I had a action-packed week last week in Vermont with it was Howard Britton Star Power Group, which started 20 years ago. And Howard Britton was a real inspiration for me in my career because it was in 1993, I think is when he hosted his first star interview. So the way he chose these people, percent of the realtors in the nation at the time in the early 90s. Today, these agents have, many of them have sold their businesses. Many of them have semi-retired. Many are now philanthropists and just work on their nonprofits. And I was with about 100 of them this last week in Vermont. It was very inspiring to see how their core values have carried through all the way through their life 20 years later. And now they have moved on to things to where they're really making an impact in their community and making an impact on society. So it left me with the way of what are we doing to start? So these things start in small steps. It starts with you helping your clients and your customer service skills and how much are you actually giving your clients? And those small things and those small steps that these agents took 20 years ago have now led to really great things and great relationships. So I saw people I hadn't seen in 15 years that I've learned so much from over the years back when I was years and years ago. So with that being said, I want to talk about some of the nuts and bolts of what I learned and also talk about some of the things that may help you. What the one thing that I learned, that sometimes it takes a different venue to see things in a different perspective, but that this is a real simple business. You know, selling houses is not brain surgery. This is a very simple business, and it's doing the simple things, and some of the most fundamental, the most basic things are the most important. And so hearing these agents, selling $50 million to $180 million in sales volume a year, these are now today. There's some new Howard Britton stars, and the organization's kind of morphed into something a little more touchy-feely about making an impact and giving back. But there were people making presentations all week of what they're using in their business, what's working for them, and what really resonated with me as an agent that's been licensed since 1997 is that the most important things that they referenced are things that haven't changed since 1997. And that's what I want to talk about a little bit in the call. Are you doing the most important fundamentals in your business to make sure that your clients are being taken care of and that you're doing the best job you can with your clients? So as I mentioned, the agents making these presentations, they're roundtable presentations. There was about 120 people there, invitation only, and most of their production, the ones making presentations range between about 50 million in annual sales volume to 180 million in annual sales volume. So guys, to give you kind of a perspective on that, a lot of typical Century 21 entire offices and entire Coldwell Banker offices only do about 150 million in annual sales volume a year. So these are agents doing a lot of what I was doing, 10 years ago, 600, 700 transactions a year, which is what a lot of real estate brokerages do, large brokerages. So the first question is, are you giving 100% to help your clients? And is your focus on customer service delivery, and how would you rate yourself on that, providing world-class service to your clients? If you focus on world-class service to your clients, your average sales price will increase, and of course your profitability will follow as well. And then back to the basics, which is, are you in touch with your sphere of influence? Who is your sphere of influence? Are these people that are going to be buying and selling houses the next 5 or 10 years? Do they know other people buying and selling homes in the next several years? So that's a fundamental question that we always ask, but that needs to be the most important core, because if you're really giving back and if you're focused on giving back, then talking to your sphere of influence is going to be very comfortable and it's going to be very natural for you. So there should not be hesitation in calling and keeping in touch with your sphere of influence when you're really focused on providing amazing service. But you have to be delivering that amazing service. So we're going to get to some of that on the nuts and bolts of doing that. But so do you really care? Do you really care about your clients and about and how are you showing that? So you have to be organized in order to do that. You know, keeping it on a scratch pad or a haphazard way, if you're not organized and keeping up with your clients, you won't be able to deliver the results that you deserve. So that organization is very simple. You know, are you using Contactually? Are you using Insightly? Are you using Top Producer? What CRM or customer retention management system are you using? If you're not using one, then you're not giving yourself 100%. You're certainly cheating your sphere of influence. You could be doing a lot more volume, because the things that resonate with your past clients and your sphere of influence are their birthdays, are personal things that no matter how great your memory is, you're probably not going to remember these things. So having those databased in a system is going to be really important. Their home anniversary. Have you gone through all of your past sales and pulled in the MLS the closing date? It's very simple to do that. Just go through all of your sales production, your history, pull the closing date, and make sure you have that in your calendar. Is that in your CRM system, in your calendar, when their closing date, and are you calling them on that date, on their anniversary date? Their kids' birthdays, spouse birthdays, and there's a lot of contact points for your sphere of influence. And then I wrote, what are the basic fundamentals? You know, it's something I don't want to beat a dead horse with this, but it's something that always needs to be top of mind. So number one, which we already talked about, how well do you rate your organizational skills? On a scale of 1 to 5, how organized are you? Do you have all of your sphere of influence? We talk about the 300 people. Do you have those 300 people database? Do you have their birthdays? Do you have their home anniversary? And are they in a general market area that you can service? And also number 2, how do you rate your lead follow-up skills? 70% of real estate transactions come from lead follow-up. So how well are you following up with your active buyers and your active sellers? Number 3, how do you rate your knowledge of basic scripts and dialogues? So, you know, we have our Waller Group script book and dialogue book, and there's a lot of time that's been put into this, and this is like brushing your teeth. Keep in mind that this is the basic, this is very, very elementary. If you don't know how to brush your teeth, then you've got some problems. It's kind of the same issue with this in real estate. If you don't know your scripts and dialogues, something as basic as that, then you're going to have issues. So before you can provide any type of service or customer value, then you have to know these basic things. Now, as far as how they're, it's basic questions. It's selling by asking questions, and that is consulting at the end of the day. And that's what we are, is we're consulting sales professionals. The number 4, how do you rate your negotiating skills? And how do you promote that? So this is something that's real important to know about negotiating skills. These other activities are about lead generation, lead retention. But when it comes to negotiating skills, that's something that a lot of buyers and sellers, they don't really understand the value that realtors have when it comes to negotiating. So you have to sell them on that skill set. You have to sell them on how much money are you saving your clients? How much more are you getting for your clients' houses versus the competition? How much more are you saving when you negotiate a buyer deal versus the competition? So do you know those stats? And how well are you promoting that, or how well are you selling that? So are you putting that on Facebook? I just saved another client X $1,000. I just, had multiple offers on this, and I was able to generate an extra X amount of dollars for my seller. That's something that you have to promote, because the general public, most buyers and sellers, don't really understand the value that good realtors bring to the negotiating table. And then, are you doing that? Are you saving them money? And are you providing that value? If not, take some negotiating classes. Harvard offers a great online negotiating class. There's a lot of other negotiating classes. It's just as easy as a few keystrokes on your browser. So find out information on and really strengthen your skills when it comes to negotiating, and then promote that too. You just took a Harvard class. You just took a class on negotiating at the board or wherever it is. Customer service delivery systems. So these delivery systems are what I consider basics, but it's your buyer book and presentation. Do you have your buyer book and presentation? Do you have your listing presentation down? Do you have your listing seller's guide down. The seller's guide should be like your Bible when you go out on a listing appointment, showing that value proposition, showing your stats, and there again, selling. Yeah, selling is educating. So you're educating them on the marketing plan, what you're doing for that 6% commission. That marketing plan is key, very essential. So, and then number 6, finally, your market knowledge. So notice market knowledge is not number 1 on the list. Market knowledge is there again, I think something that the average consumer, buyer and seller, they don't really understand what realtors know when it comes to market knowledge. We're going to talk a little bit more about that when I talk about a consumer panel, a Gen Y consumer panel that was brought in during this meeting last week. I thought it was very interesting. So do you know the inventory? Have you seen comps in the market? Can you reference those comparables when you're showing property to your current buyers? When you're on a listing appointment, can you reference other homes that you've been in the area? So if you don't know that, then you need to get to know it before you go on a listing appointment, or you need to really do some previewing for a buyer. So even if it's in a market you don't know, you can still do this, but you owe it to your buyer to really learn that market. Now, let's talk about some nuts and bolts of what last week was about. Keep in mind, these are presentations from the top agents around the nation. Facebook posts. So there was a study done on Facebook posts that create the most engagement. Local listings create the most engagement. So something that we're doing is we're rolling out all of our marketing templates that will be new. So we have one template that I think it looks fantastic, and it will be a template for you to follow on all of your coming soon or your just listed properties to put on Facebook. And it's very, very professional. It's nicely branded, and you'll be proud to use it. So I'm excited about that. We'll be rolling that out probably at the next sales meeting. The next is local resident interviews. So interviews are something that people are interested in and what's going on in that neighborhood. So on Facebook, those are creating engagement. Something else I thought was interesting is that the over 50 community many times selects an agent at the open house. So if you have a empty nester market that you're targeting, or if that's a part of your business plan, then keep in mind at your open house the percentage of the neighbors that are coming in. Those could be good seller candidates. And it goes back to local. So hyper local market knowledge. How well do you know your white paper? How well do you know your market? What are the stats in your market? How well are you selling those stats and educating others in the area about those stats? That's something that was mentioned and emphasized over and over and over throughout the last week. And that was, how do they get this local market knowledge out? Direct mail and Facebook are probably the 2 most effective ways that today's realtors, what they're doing to get that data out, other than on the phone with the neighbors on the phone through Mojo. So some of the tools that they're using, Mojo, which of course we use as well, Top Producer Market Snapshot, which I use as well. I think that's a fantastic tool, probably one of the best tools that's available for you. And now you have to pay for that. So there's an account and there's a monthly fee for that. But we provide the seller drip and conversion. So conversion or Boomtown were the 2 that a lot of these top brokerages are using. It's the seller drip campaigns in both of those products. Now, the buyer panel, they had a Gen Y buyer panel of about 7 buyers come in that had just closed on a transaction in the last quarter. And one of the things that this was a 2-hour presentation, but my takeaway from the whole presentation was basically that buyers are not dependent on the realtors for search as much as they were in the past. And there's still the realtors that these 7 buyers had worked with, that felt like that they were providing information when they would send listings, and they would email listings and new listings to their buyers. And these buyers said, I already saw that on Zillow a week ago, or I already saw that this morning on another website. So make sure that the information that you're sending your buyers, number 1, provides value. So if they've already seen it on another site, it doesn't provide value. It's more of a nuisance. And how does that make you look? How professional does that make you look if they're getting information from you later than they are on their own? So with your buyers on where they're searching, how are they getting the information, quickly are those searches coming compared to yours? Know what they're looking at. first responders. So being responsive and a quick response. So educating them on the time sensitive nature of these properties, tell them just to text you and even put the time on the text message when they want to look at a property. You let them know that there's no place that they can find properties and look at properties faster than with you. Now this is after your buyer counseling session, and this is more applicable in the lower price range. So usually price range is probably under 300,000 is where this is going to be more common in the hotter markets. But keep that in mind. That's more so for first-time home buyers. Let's see, how well are you connecting with your buyers and your sellers on a social level? So these gen buyers, that was one of the complaints, and there was agents, and keep in mind the average age of these agents that were at this conference were probably late 50s, but they were asking, how can we connect with you, or how can we, we call and we don't get a response, and we return the emails over and over and we don't get a response. And the buyer panels is, they're saying, well, we're getting bombarded with emails from all these different brokerages and different agents, and we just wanted to look at the house. So of course we, checked on the box of several agents, and then we didn't realize we were going to get bombarded. So every time they got a response, and if it's just, are you still interested? Are you still shopping? Do you want to look at this house? Then it was a real nuisance to that buyer. So building a connection on more of a social level, whether it's on Facebook or just asking if they want to go have a drink, or just trying to get to know them to find out. Then that was for the Gen Y. Keep in mind, this is not applicable with all buyers, but this particular panel, this Gen Y panel, it was something that really resonated with me. So keep that in mind. Just some other tools and on providing the service and on your lead management. Use Meetup. That was something that one broker requires his agents to be members of at least 2 meetups and actively participate on a monthly basis of 2 meetups. So that's just a thought, something to think about. Something that I'd learned from other agents asking around, which I thought were pretty good ideas of closing gifts or what to do for your clients at closing. One was stock the refrigerator with bottled water, or stock the refrigerator after closing with items that they may need that they just haven't had time to go to the grocery store, haven't thought about it. Maybe they're moving, and if they open the refrigerator, Sarah does such a great job of her tags. Imagine if there was a tag in that refrigerator with branded water and maybe a snack or something for them to greet them as they're there on moving day. And those details are what set you apart. Something else is lunch on moving day. So one agent I talked to, she does about 140 million in annual sales volume. She's out of Maryland, and she sends all of her clients a catered lunch on moving day. So maybe the buyers aren't even there, but the movers are there, and the movers mention it to the buyer of how much they appreciated it. Just those little things go a long way. Professional photos of the house after closing. So you listing agents, after the home closes, then having those photos printed, going to, they said Costco or just a local place, and print those things for nearly nothing. And just a high quality actual print of those delivered with a note is a nice touch after closing as well. And then just some housekeeping things. How well are you doing following checklists? So a pre-listing checklist, a staging checklist, a under contract checklist, the inspection checklist. Are you following checklists, and are you the same process with every buyer and every seller? Generally, at least once a week, communication during that escrow process, all the way from when the buyers or sellers acquired until closing. Weekly follow-up and letting them know what's going to happen next week. Buyers and sellers forget what's in that seller guide or what's in your buyer presentation. So you have to be proactive each week, letting them know what's going to happen next. Here's the next steps. So how would you rate yourself on that? Are you using checklists to help you with that? Are your contractors engaged with you? Are we using contractors that are consistent? And are you using the contractor directory and our preferred vendors? That was something else at this Gen Y panel that really resonated with me, is the preferred vendors that were recommended. So lender, your lender is an extension of you. Is your lender, are they delivering consistent service? How would you rate the lender service? How personable are they? Are they educating that first-time home buyer Are they educating that move-up buyer on all the products that are available? So with that being said, Brian is here, and Brian also wanted to invite you to this first-time homebuyer conference. So this is October 25th from 2 to 4. And Brian, how many people did you say you're expecting to attend this?
Hey guys, we're probably looking at 40 to 50 tops attending the seminar, and all via the link, the agent link through Logan here.
So this would be good to put on Facebook, you know, have a JPEG or something when he sends this out to put it on Facebook. If you'll send it in JPEGs, that way they could upload it to Facebook, that may be good too, or at least some kind of a visualization that they can post. And this also has something that your lead line could be is up to $7,500 county assistance. So that's an important piece to this. It's really a lot of value for your buyers.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks.
The NAR conference is coming up in November. I'll be attending the conference. I would love for you to attend. Anyone that wants to go to that conference, if you've never been to the NAR conference, then it's a fantastic event. There's information in there for everyone. And one of the things that I always find the most interesting is what are the new vendors and who are the new vendors, and lots of tools for your buyers and sellers. Book reads, 2 books. I have not read these yet, but they're on my list now. One is A Million Miles and 1,000 Years. So this, you know, how much of an impact are you making on your family? Are you making on your community and your legacy? So this is kind of the touchy-feely part. Another one, The Happiness Advantage. So the Happiness Advantage actually talks about how being happy creates or increases your productivity. So that was a lot of this conference, or this is more of a retreat, which is, what are you doing to feed your soul? What are you doing, and what does create happiness? So that's where this is the greatest business on earth. I really think that selling real estate is the best business anyone could have. And I think of my poor friends that have to work a 9-to-5 job or have to work in an office, and they're not making much of an impact. And think about it, guys, that's 90% of your peers. So, and middle America, to where you guys can make an impact with every single transaction. Your job is to make people happy and to reduce their stress. So there is a lot of stress in these transactions, and that's why our moving services and the value that we bring there is so important. And I want you to think about it yourself. How good of a job are you alleviating that stress of those buyers and sellers, and really focused on making it as seamless and as smooth as possible? If you are, the referrals will follow. Have a productive and fantastic week. Thank you so much for joining. Look forward to next week. And if anyone wants help on one-on-one, those 1 to 5 things, let me know. Thank you.